computer, and I think we're good. So I'm going to give a quick welcome. Welcome everyone to Kotlin Thursdays Tea Time. Right now it's me, Ben Rodriguez, and we have with us Brittany Braxton. Hey, Brittany.
Hey, hello everyone.
Hello. I'm currently, I guess technically, Brittany's boss at the moment at a company, and I hope that we made it successful for you. But today's topic, and actually the reason why I brought that up, is because today's topic is bad bosses. Both Brittany and I have had our experiences with bad bosses, some positive, mostly negative, hence why they're bad. And I guess it really shaped, I can say that it shaped my career differently, and the way my outlook on the organization and actually my working style as well. Brittany, have you had some experiences with bad bosses?
Oh yeah, I'm still pretty early into my professional career, but I have had some pretty unsavory examples. Starting with as early as my first job in college, working in the dining hall, I had some really bad boss examples to even after college. It still continues to be. A lot of what drives me to go from company to company is not necessarily the work or the coworkers, but the experience I have with my managers or superiors.
Yeah, and I've been in the IT world for about 20 years, and I can say yes, that there have been some that told me, that I was not performing to expectations, compared me to other people, and said that I make too much money for what I do. Let's see. And let's see some other great highlights. I think I was on vacation and they said I did not fill out my vacation form, but it's because they couldn't find the vacation form and sent me a series of nasty texts, asking me to do all sorts of various things. And that was fun. Made me not want to talk to them ever again. And then I've had other bosses too that just neglected me. So they didn't ask what I was doing. I didn't ask what they were doing, and just wandered off. So
yeah. When you're saying about you're making too much money, I definitely remember an experience with one where this was like around 2012, where the manager was like, you all are pretty replaceable. You can go and find another job. The economy is improving. You don't make enough money here for us to want to value keeping you. And that was a really upsetting day. I actually put in my resignation immediately after that meeting, just because it's like, how can you put this fear mongering in me to want to go back onto the floor and continue to put in my effort and put in my work value when you're telling me in a group meeting that you all are replaceable and I'm not needed.
yeah.
I've also had a manager once, this was while in college, but threatened to have action against me that I can make your life a living hell. I can make it so that you can never work in another place on campus. And if I try to cross him, then, I will never have another job. And so.
Wow.
Yeah. So definitely agree with you on those. It's a series of very similar patterns with each of those individuals. And once I start to identify them, that's when the concern starts to crop up.
Mm-hmm.
of will this be the same situation again? What will it be that makes it so that I no longer feel safe, and I no longer feel like I have a direction in this company that's positive or influential for my own behalf.
Yeah. I guess that's the same thing. It's a feeling of safety, feeling of, at one point you just like say, what is the point here? I don't understand. Like, what am I doing? Why am I going to invest my own time? Because on the opposite side of yeah, they're foretelling you that yes, you can switch jobs, and you're like, well, why am I sitting here? Like, I get calls and I have people and connections. Like, I don't need this job, and I don't need to work with you. Um, so I never
Mhm.
understand that as a motivator, like to be rude and to be a bad boss and to show like these behaviors of uncaring, these behaviors of making you feel unsafe, and yet somehow that motivates me now to want to work harder. Like it's the
Right.
opposite. It's the complete opposite now. Yeah, not that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, it's a complete motivator.
yeah. So tell me. Okay, let's tell me about some good bosses that you've had, and what are some like key points that they did.
Sure. So one that comes to mind is um, a boss that I had where I worked there as a student, and then I ended up actually coming back after graduating and taking on a new role in the team. And my boss was already knew that I was familiar with a lot of the processes, but he still made it so that I had like a very structured choose your own adventure onboarding of like so it was working with like hardware assets and getting computers ready for different staff on campus. And so it was like, okay, well, show me how you can migrate a user's data. Um, how can you set up the operating system with these specific packages, set it into this particular organization, like all these different little steps. And for me, I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling very confident with this. And even in that gap where I didn't, I hadn't had worked there, things had changed. And so it was, oh, you don't understand that part, go and talk to these people. And everyone was really friendly, and it was a very welcoming team. um, and then like maybe a month and a half into it, like I wasn't even expecting it, he came up to me and he gave me a certificate, and he was like, congratulations, you have passed my certification. And like it was like a foiled certificate on like hard cardstock. And it was just like, oh wow, okay, well, that's really encouraging for me, because it's a fun gesture. And it also just shows like, oh, I'm actually making progress, and my progress is being shown in something that I can just physically tangibly just like hang up on my wall. I really enjoyed that experience, and it was a really great team to be on. um, I would say that other examples of onboarding has been when I'm pairing with someone, like I get deliberately assigned to someone to help me out,
Mm-hmm.
of like, shadow with this person, and, they'll kind of show you through the ropes. And, it's usually somebody who is, on the same team as me that has, maybe a year or two more experience of that role. And that's always been really helpful too, of like, just kind of getting the ropes, and knowing like, there's like one process of like from A to B. But often what you may see while you're working and when you have experience is that like it's not necessarily just like linear. There's some tasks where it's like, well, to get to A to B you actually have to like take an off-road and go around these other places. And, maybe don't talk to that particular person because they're not the most helpful. Go and talk to this, like giving you those like little insight tips. And that was a really great experience too, to like be able to feel more confident about like where I'm heading at in this role, and how do I have a place in this company.
Right. Cool. Yeah, some of the ones, those are some keen examples too. I mean, you talk about hardware, and you talk about like that physical feeling of or physical like memento or like certification. Like for me, like some of those were like getting my laptop, getting my access, getting everything I need to like start working day one. There's a
Oh
lot.
yeah.
I remember when I started at some places, it was like, oh yeah, you'll get your laptop and access in about 2 to 4 weeks, and I was like, well, yeah, it was just very difficult to like under to for me, because it's like, am I a part of this company? I'm not. You already have this feeling of I moved from one company to another, and now like I don't have like laptops and I don't have thing access, things like that. And it seems small, but at the same time, it makes, like, my laptop is what I do my work on, so it makes me feel, I like to decorate, and so it's part of, like, my space. And so if I don't have that space been given out to me, then it's definitely not a welcoming feeling.
Especially just like the overall process of getting into that company, right? You had to interview, you probably had to find an advocate to be able to get you that resume to land in the right spot. You had to interview, you had to jump through all these different hoops to be able to say, like, please hire me. I am, like, the best person that you have for this role. And then immediately after that, you've signed on, you've accepted the offer, and now you're in the company. They gave you the security badge or whatever, and then they're saying, like, you still have additional steps to take before we can trust you to be here. And that's really frustrating, because just like you're saying, like, I need a computer to be able to work. So what am I supposed to do at this time?
Right.
I would agree with you. I've had that experience also. And the answer usually is like, oh, well, we've got some training computers over on this totally different floor of what you can be able to use. And it's still frustrating because it's not the same software that I use professionally. It is, it's just not at all configured in a way that makes me successful. So really, it's 4 weeks of me just trying to go up this hill that I don't even need to go up. Only to get there, and eventually I'm supposed to land into the correct like flow of things.
Right. And I mean, it's just different. It was different for me. Like, that was one of the big changes I made, is to make sure that everybody gets all their access and laptops within, like, a day or two, within 2 days max.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting, and the 2 days is just because I didn't want to hold a Mac in my desk. I just didn't want to do that. So I have it's secured into a different spot, which I don't have access to. But one of the things, though, that I did mess up a few times is that, and I still forget, is finding a buddy for people. Because I think, you have access. Oh, you're pair programming. Oh, people are going to take care of you. And I start to realize, too, that, with 40, 50 people, like, they need a buddy, and sometimes someone to, like, show them where, like, what meetings are, what we call, like, an all hands meeting, and, like, who are these designated people that are talking to me, what's, like, the org structure, simple things like that I forget. And that buddy really helps out. So that's what I found. Really, I started implementing that buddy system early on.
Yeah, right. And I have been a buddy for incoming junior associates, right? Where it's been pretty free flowing of how I interact with that person, of just like the basics of, like, okay, do you have WebEx set up? Do you have your email set up? Are you able to access email on your phone? Do you have, like, these very basic things? And then it's also been a really valuable interaction of just, like, how are you navigating through this company as you start here to be successful? And comparing it to my own experience, and just making sure that that person is having their concerns be heard, concerns being met, or who are the proper channels to funnel that through, because we work in a very big company, right? And it's not very often that the answer to some of our questions are so direct.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a very large organization to cycle through. Unfortunately, a lot of the knowledge of, like, how to cycle through that is not written down, and it's not in a place that is easily found. And so it's all about having those interpersonal connections to help you know about where to find those resources.
Right. I promise that we'd only take about 15 minutes of this. So I think I'm going to gear this towards now, like, give me some examples of behaviors and, like, actions that some bad bosses who might be listening, who might not know that they're bad, that might be doing, that you're just like, hey, stop doing that.
Some examples of that?
Yeah.
So things that are examples of bad bosses. I would say not regularly checking in with your subordinates, having this assumption that things are going well, but not having a pinpoint that is within the last 2 weeks. And I would say also, like, if you're only looking at the individual in a metric sort of point of view of like, here's Brittany and this is not Brittany. Brittany is a spreadsheet of like different numbers and different performances. And this is how I'm going to get to know Brittany. That's not the most reasonable way to interact with people. And you're going to miss out on a lot of nuances of how a person is performing and excelling. And I would say the last one is a bad boss is someone who takes offense or finds a threat that someone is going to usurp them from their role.
Right.
When that's not ever really the case, it's more of probably somebody just doing well at their job and pointing out new ways that the team can enhance and grow. But that shouldn't be seen as a threat. So those are three things.
Yeah, the last one definitely is pretty salient, because I think that's always the most difficult challenge for me when I have people report to me, because there's some people that I'm just like, wow, you're a genius. Like, in a few years, yes, I will probably report to you, and then that will be that. Like, so, I mean, I've seen that happen already, and I've also seen the opposite too, where managers cannot take that. They're just very uncomfortable with it, and I'm like, it just happens. There's going to be, you're not good at everything, and some people are just going to be better fit for some roles than you're not. And the end, I think for me, like, that's definitely one, just having that ability to understand and to be self-aware what you're good and what you're not. And then from another one, I think I always look for, is definitely just check in, just to make sure that everything's okay. You're just, when you hire somebody new, especially new people, you have to remember it's a brand new place. They don't know anybody, so you have to move past just their number, their 6-digit number or 4-digit number, whatever it is, or four characters. And then ask them, like, do you have a family? Do you live here? Are you from Chicago? Do you have somebody to have lunch with? Do you know where breakfast is served? Like, what are you going to work on? Like, what do you do for hobbies? Do you have kids? Like, all these things are part of the process of onboarding. And especially when you're working with someone for, 7 to 10 hours a day. And at the unfortunate time, especially with what we do, you're going to call them in the middle of the night, interrupt their family time or whatever time they have, their personal time, to help them fix your problem. So you have to be very aware of their surroundings and what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because that's very disruptive.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to look at the individual in a holistic view, right? It's not just in a very small scope. People are navigating through life in many different paths and forms, and it's good to be taking that into context.
Right. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks, dude, for reaching out. I mean, this is pretty enlightening. Good to know more about you, Brittany. And
thanks. Yeah, this was great.
Yeah, I hope everything goes well for you this week, and looking forward to talking to you more.
Yeah, I will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, Brittany. Have a good afternoon. Bye. Thanks again.
Bye.